We had your first get together. Let's talk about that.
Oh, dude. You remember.
Valley Mentality. I remembered I was there.
Who knew? Well, no.
It's really like a week long, but after that.
Yes. It generally has that limit on it. But yeah. Well, you're right. It was over a week. Yeah, dude. It was a hit. Our Valley Mentality party, our first way of like, you can say it was a launch party for the clothing company, but it was real. I mean, we had launched a month ago, and this is kind of for us just like a way of being like, we want to do these consistent sort of like brand celebration things to get people excited about the Valley, our message, the whole thing. So we did it. And at the freaking little bar that we happened to like meet the owner of, and she's so like great. And it was a hit. What do you think of it?
It was a great time, dude. I had a good time. The owner was like, what did she think after, bro? Because there were so many fucking people who came in and out. I don't know what the crowd usually is at that place, but it felt like overly packed compared to what it probably is.
For that being kind of like a sleepy little dive bar kind of in a strip mall, mind you.
Weird like location.
Quirkiest, I mean, kind of textbook Valley Mentality.
Yeah, for real.
It really couldn't have screamed it anymore. I mean, in like the logo, like, the brand, the bar title in front of the place sign.
Got a few lights out.
Had a few lights out. It's just like kind of dinky, but perfect and funny. And like my uncle drove his muscle car, his like 79 Chevelle up.
Yeah, that was sick.
Center, which was like a huge like topic of conversation. People love talking about it and like hanging out in the car. And I mean, for me, at the very least, it felt like having a party at your parents' house without your parents there. It was like we had our own bar ourselves, dude. No cleanup after or anything. It was just like woohoo! And yes, we packed it out. Now I didn't realize this, or I didn't think about it, but they on their karaoke nights and stuff, it gets jam packed. They have, they have a lot of events there.
Because I was gonna say it would be fucking hilarious if like there's usually no foot traffic through that place, and then on this one night you roll through and it's fucking 100 people.
I mean, I kind of thought that is like the nature of what we all wanted. And she signed up for that too, though. She brought up that she would invite her a whole list of 5,000 people.
Nice.
And we were like, at first we were like, yes, but then we thought about it and we're like, maybe on this one, let's test it out.
Make it just without that list.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
I know.
Imagine if she had her list.
Well, that's true. There's a whole outside area too, though. But
I didn't even know there was an outside area.
I know. And I originally wanted to have like drinking games outside.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, like
it would have needed, bro.
It didn't need it. Why was it the funnest party?
It was flowing.
So fun.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like it was perfect. Like there was a couple little designated areas and everyone was just like sitting and talking. The music wasn't too loud for the most part. Everyone can talk.
Yeah.
Vibe. It was a really cool vibe. It was like everyone celebrating something that felt good.
Yeah, dude.
Me.
Oh yeah, just there sitting back enjoying the whole thing.
Oh, thank you. Don't mind if I do. No, I mean a lot of it. Probably a lot of Tanner's friends didn't even know I was involved or whatever, or maybe they did, but like for them, it was literally just a powwow of them seeing Tanner and their friends and stuff. So for me, for a lot of it, I was like, I'd meet them for a second, like kind of hang out, and then obviously just like reunion, getting to see like my friends I haven't seen in a while, you and stuff. And a lot of our
I met a bunch of new people. I saw Sophia. We talked for a while. It was a good time.
Oh my gosh. I know. It was sick. On so many different fronts. And
I like Jimmy's video too. His uncle Jimmy put up this video from the car, and then he goes in and he's like taking in the whole scene. Did you not see that?
Did he put it on Instagram or did he text you?
We're not on that level yet. I wish one day.
Getting closer.
Closer. But I met him though, which was a big deal. And we talked about the film too that like fell through. And he was like, "Oh, you're that guy." I'm like, "Yeah." It almost
He brought that up to me. And he went out of his way to say, like, "Your director, buddy, so nice." And we talked about the movie and stuff. And I mean, he just said great things about you.
Yeah. I say the same, bro. He was really cool.
That's fantastic. I'm not sure how late you stayed. It felt like it was late, even when it was like 10 for me, at
Yeah,
least.
yeah.
You probably stuck around you guys till like 10:30, 11.
Something like that.
Yeah.
We came a little later. I think we came at like 8:30 or something, but yeah,
Yeah.
stuck around.
Which is a good time. A lot of people came. I mean, some people came at like 10 and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is
How
bold.
late did it go till?
So I mean, it felt late to me. We definitely weren't running out of there, but I think we got out of there around 12. And
Wow.
then there was an after party,
Hey,
naturally. Yeah. In the Hollywood Hills. And it was just sick.
cool.
Yeah. Hook, line, and sinker. I mean, we did that. We got some great like photos from it. I didn't, which was like a goal of ours too. Like we wanted to like show on our Instagram that like what we're about and that we want to celebrate the valley and stuff.
Yeah.
And like that vibe of like, small businesses in the valley and stuff that like love kind of that classic LA forgotten vibe. And so
I mean, I feel like that location epitomized that whole vibe. Like that atmosphere that was in there felt very old school. It felt like a different time. It felt like you encapsulated that moment of LA in the valley that you're going for. What era would you peg it at? If you had to like pick a decade, 70s.
70s.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad and his brothers were grown. Sorry, what?
It felt 70s. I felt that.
Because my dad and his brothers growing up, they grew up in California in the 70s. They're New York before then, but yeah, I mean, really like when they were teenagers and stuff, the 70s, and they were in Van Nuys and they were probably raging. And they were all actually at that time, I'll tell you what they were doing. They were cruising on Van Nuys Boulevard. You get Jimmy had his like Volkswagen big old van Spicoli style, I think. And I don't know what my dad had, if anything, but they would cruise. Actually, my dad had money from being a child actor. And you cruise Ventura Boulevard and you like pick up chicks and everyone gets together kind of like Dazed and Confused.
I was going to say, bro, Dazed and Confused. I love that movie too. That movie is just such a good time. You just sit back and you feel like you're a part of it.
Talk about introducing some like true yet stuff that isn't captured in a lot of other movies, stuff about high school,
Yeah.
And
bro, because a movie like that, I feel like it's really easy to just not get engaging. Like you just feel kind of out of it. You're like, oh, they're just like hanging out this kind of
no plot. There's no real like hero's journey at all, obviously.
There isn't, but I don't know if I mean, I haven't seen it in forever, but like the feeling like you're engaged the whole fucking time, but at the same time, yeah, it's not like you're following a plot. You're just kind of sitting back and like you're with these characters.
I know it's a tall task to make a movie like that, but it's a day in the life of senior year, final day of senior year at high school in Austin, Texas, in the 80s or something.
I'm sure they probably pieced together, like they probably heard about this crazy fucking thing that happened at this high school and the crazy shit that happened at this one and kind of strung together the most interesting bits.
Totally.
Like, if you actually like, there's no way, dude. There's no way. Like that's definitely a heightened version of what that is. Like in real life, if you're like, yeah, dude.
Not that I don't think anything happens that's that crazy. Them like sneaking into the football stadium at the end and just like smoking weed on it and then having a cake. Nothing that crazy.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Dude, it's been a minute. I thought it was way crazier shit.
No. Yeah.
Maybe just like get high and like fucking.
Yeah. It's all pretty like
better, bro. Yeah. That's the fact they could make a film like that and it's like nothing insane. That's crazy.
I love how we're getting into Dazed and Confused right now, but I find it a fascinating subject because breaking down
such a natural transition from Valley Mentality, Dazed and Confused.
I know to movie making and stuff, but I love talking about whatever the medium is, whether it's a clothing company, a party, or a movie and a unique movie. Dazed and Confused. If you had to boil down what it was really about, yes, it's the last day of high school in Austin, Texas, but it centers on a few different characters, but that main character is the dude who is a football player, but he has different friend circles, friend groups, and his friends throwing a party. And through the day or two or whatever, you see him quit the football team, quit his future of that. He wants to just kind of be a normal partying kid. You see, and the big takeaway for me, which I found very impressive that you don't ever see done well in anything else, is the high school initiation stuff amongst the kids, amongst the 8th graders going into high school, the boys and the girls. You see the Ben Affleck character who's just a baseball jock or football, young Ben Affleck, who's obviously crushed it comedically and everything. And they looked like real jocks. Like they looked like tough guys, kind of. They looked like tough, like Texas kids, you know, like I don't know about really tough. Like,
Ben Affleck played that when he was like 20 or some shit. Or was he the actual? Yeah, for sure.
God, he was the actual. So, and by the way, we're failing to even bring up the most important takeaway of it all, which I'll get to in a second. I can't believe it's not jumping out at you, but how quick that just shows that there's so many interesting things about the movie. I'm about to hit you with it. But so the initiation stuff, I mean, there was all the actors, dude, that were so big from it. A young Parker Posey, who's like a big indie starlet girl. She not from Scream, but from a lot of big movies later on. She was one of the not sorority because it's high school, but she was one of the initiation girls that had like the fresh 8th grade girls, and she goes like, "Get on your faces on the ground, bitches," and she like lays it out and she starts pouring like powder puff stuff all over the girls. I saw that in high school. I saw that like in 9th grade and stuff, and I'm sure it's way crazier back then, which is like scary. Like I can't believe they were doing all that stuff, but also. And for the guys, like those guys would chase the kids down with paddles and like try to get it. And they show how real it was. And then they all go to a party after. And here's the mic drop. Matthew McConaughey in his breakout first character role.
Yeah. All right.
I keep getting older. They keep staying the same age. And dude, he epitomized that older hippie guy that hangs around, yet you saw why he was kind of redeemable. He wasn't, there was no black and white. It was all shades of gray. That's what a good movie does. A good character does. That leads to a lasting effect. The villain, and this wasn't as extreme as he was a villain. He was just kind of a burnout, but he was pretty damn cool for a burnout. It was sick.
Is that what's redeemable about McConaughey's character, is that he's cool? Or like, what's the redeeming factor?
Yeah, if you have to think about it, I mean, that's what I'm passing off right there. It's just that he was cool. But why was he cool? He had it dialed. And it's so weird. Like, if you had to really analyze it, like, or not really analyze it, just like objectively, dude, you're 26, you're hanging out with high school kids. Not only is that creepy, but it's like pathetic, but also a product of the times. So first of all, it's detailed, sucks you in. And then secondly, yeah, he had it freaking dialed, dude. Like he knew the places to go. All the ladies did love him. It was weird, but like they just kind of showed that
it was weird, but it was the times.
He had something to it, you know.
Yeah.
And he was charming and funny and had his. It just captured it, like the weird older brother that's still hanging around, that type of stuff, you know.
But dude, what's crazy about that, like, that is like the perfect kind of role where it's such like a light touch, but it leaves such a lasting impact. I think a lot of that has to do with even just himself, what he brings like naturally to the roles that he plays. Like, yeah, the character is charismatic and all this shit, but a lot of that stuff, you always talk about, like, you take on a role and you're like, these are the conditions that I have to follow, and this is the whole thing.
Yeah, circumstances, maybe, like this is the mindset.
Yeah. However, on top of that, I mean, an actor just naturally brings himself, and they bring like their own charisma and like whatever. And I feel like a lot of that just had to do with the fact that it was Matthew McConaughey, and that comes back to good casting. Like whoever cast that movie did a really good job. And a lot of people say like 90% of directing is good casting. And I agree with that, bro. Because if you have the right person who has the type of personality and little quirks and stuff that's just naturally them, if they just get out of their own way, lock into the circumstances, and they deliver this great fucking performance.
And look at the casting all throughout that. I mean, the girls in that.
Yeah, dude, the casting of that movie is insane.
the older girls that were senior girls, I mean, yeah, it's possible that in real life they were much older, but like they looked like how when you're in ninth grade and you look at the senior girls, they look like women. All right. Like they
Yeah,
look like freaking adults. It was perfect. It captured that. And then it captured how the eighth grade kids are like, they look really young, but they're cocky as shit and
Yeah.
stuff. And then it also like all the people who were like, you know, smart nerds, but like partied. I mean, all that, and those actors all became huge too.
Mhm.
And yes, it goes to casting for Matthew McConaughey's thing. And yes, you can say that actors in real life, you know, you want to watch them and they're so great. But the key is honestly that it goes to the acting. And I don't think I'm not saying acting's so revolutionary. Obviously, I generally say the reverse of that. McConaughey, I don't think he's a genius for knowing how to act. I think he's probably innately a smart guy. He's got life experience. I read his book or whatever. Like people smart and like also worldly too. But even though he's from a small town in Texas, but when we say we like this person's acting, it's their take on a character. So a lot of times, you know, you have to have the same vision as the writer, or maybe like a better one or a different one. But the point is, he delivered, and his part kept getting bigger and bigger. It started off with, I think, 3 lines in one scene, and then how Richard Linklater worked, and especially in those early days, was he just made his sets a party, and he would keep all his these guys around to watch the other scenes and teach them all kind of filmmaking and get them in the story. And McConaughey kept being around, and he would ask him, "What do you think Wooderson would say in this situation? What do you think? Do you think he would be in this scene? Do you think he'd be at this party with them, or what do you think?" And McConaughey, from the very get-go, as he says in that interview and stuff, he was about to say his first line, and then he ad-libbed. He didn't even act. He never had an acting class in his life. He just like loved filmmaking. He was probably a good storyteller already. And so he thought, what would these people do in this situation? Which for acting, you got to think about it. I think about that situation, get into the role, get into the minds of what, you know, if you're playing an army thing, think about it. What really happens on those army war fields, you know, what really happens? Like, is it dusty? Is it cold? Are these people used to it? Are they scared? Do they live for this? Are they crazy? You know, use your imagination. So Matthew McConaughey did just that. He thought, all right, Wooderson, he's like my older brother. And these people are just like always keeping it cool. They can fly with anything. And the person asked a question and they answered it fine. And he's just like, what's he going to say to it? He's going to say something cool. And he's like, all right, all right, all right. And like, game on, you know, to say that. But he understood it's not about one line. It's not about another. It's about being in that kind of experience of that world, of the character and stuff. And that's so far from what I was taught in a lot of acting classes, which is, what do you bring to it? What is, oh my gosh, your personal experience? And I think that discourages so many people from getting into acting because they're like, I don't want to deal with me. This isn't therapy. I literally heard so many people say that. And so many acting teachers have debates with people about their own personal stuff. Oh, your personalization isn't strong enough and stuff. And like, that has a purpose, of course, but I just think a lot of teachers didn't know when to use that. I think start from a place of McConaughey's imagination, getting into the story. What's so fun about the writing? You know, you want writers to think that this actor is thinking about the character as much as us, the writer and the director.
What you said about, and I didn't even know it was Linklater who directed that.
Yeah.
Crazy. He did Boyhood too.
Yep. Another fun one.
Yeah, bro, that him opening that up for an actor and saying, you know, what do you think
I love it too,
character would do in this situation? I'm sure you fucking love that.
Yep.
From an acting perspective.
Yep.
I've never done that, bro. And from my end, I've
done it with me a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but I touch more on the line of like I'll never give a line reading unless it gets really fucking bad. But like, I'll never be like, be sad. Like I'll walk them through what I think the character's journey and progression is as a director, which I'm sure some actors find helpful. However, I've never taken off the reins to such an extent where I'm like, what do you think the character would do in this thing? Because the amount of freedom that gives is dope. And I should trust my actors to that extent.
I think also it might have been Linklater egging McConaughey on a little bit too. Like if I was teaching actors, I might propose that just because sometimes you get locked into just saying the lines and doing the scene a certain way and you have to hit your marks and it's very technical. That's understandable, but then you use that creative part of the brain when someone says, well, what would what would Andrew, like in another scene or something, what would Andrew be saying if he was in the living room with the family right now and they're all in a debate, would he feel bad about that too? Maybe we should put him in, right? And if you get brought that up, you're gonna fucking take it seriously. You're gonna be like, maybe I could get some lines that Andrew, if he had to say something, what would you think? And that goes right back to what Hugh Grant said, that if you were to cover up your lines, what would your character be thinking or say next without knowing your lines, the line that's already there. So these good, by the way, Matthew McConaughey, Hugh Grant, both actors that have played so many different types of characters well. And if they're all saying that, it's just like a given that you should be thinking that way. But by the way, the line read, I want to bring up, I just heard another interview with a comedian or comedy actor, Luke Wilson, Owen Wilson's brother. And it was on Conan O'Brien's podcast. And he brought up
podcast.
Yeah, it's sick. Conan's the best interviewer. And Wilson goes, he's like, that's another thing. I've never understood why actors don't like line readings. Because I love when a director brings up that there's, try this way. And then you basically do an impression of that. You see how to, figure out how to make it authentic and you just do it. And it's so helpful. And I heard that and I was like, of course he's like a comedy guy. So he feels like he's free to say whatever he wants. But I just found that very refreshing.
Do you agree with that?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. You prefer if you're not getting something for a director to just give you a line read?
Yeah, dude. I mean, for me,
I'll keep that in mind.
I can see, right? I can see the potential for insecurity because then you feel like pressure, like, oh shit, the director's got the vision completely in his head. He could probably do it better than I can. But I think it's as long as you come from the place of like, maybe it doesn't have to be exactly how the director said, like, it doesn't have to be perfect like that, but at least I see what they're coming from. I guess a lot of actors beat themselves up though, because they can't even do what is in their head. They can't even like hit that.
Yeah, but I also feel like I get it. I think it's still a last resort though, because I think as the director, you should be able to specifically articulate exactly the emotional journey of an actor so that they get to that place naturally on their own. I think that is the responsibility of a director. And if you're not able to articulate it that way, you shift and try to find another way to explain it. I mean, there are circumstances though where like an actor just is not getting it, and that usually is like lack of experience. And the only times that's happened is when they've done like one short and they have no idea what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, again, right? And you do this already. It's just like working with the actor and kind of like trying to connect and see where they're at, like being of service to them, even though you don't have time to do that. But they're not working. It's like anything. If I'm a nanny working with kids, like see what they're giving you and then just address that like with your instincts, how you would anybody.
Totally, bro. You know what else? A lot of actors feel like a director has like a specific vision and like that's the only way that they want the actor to act, and then insecurity can come from that place. But there is nothing that I love more when an actor brings in a take that's like more extreme or way far left of what I was expecting, and it's so much better than what I was expecting. Like there's one that sticks out to me. It's this guy named Greg Rosenberg. You ever met him?
Maybe.
I don't know. He's done a few shorts with me, but there's this one we just shot where he plays this like really like psychopath who killed the husband, and he's like filming a home video of his wife when really it's this woman who just killed her husband. And like the way his take on it, how extreme he was and all this shit from the get was like way more extreme than what I anticipated. And I fucking love that. And that's like the actor then taking their responsibility and going to the highest degree.
That's got to be the best. By the way, I did not reshoots, but I did additional footage of that Lifetime movie that I did a while ago. I was wondering what was delaying so much. Yeah, I just got a message from the director like 2 weeks ago being like, oh, by the way, we're filming more scenes.
Wow.
Yeah.
You
And so what?
You already shot him?
Already shot it.
How did it go?
It went great. I just had one scene and it was establishing this like sister character that I didn't even know I had before, my character. So it's just a phone call. The movie was like about these detectives, and in it, my mom character killed our real estate agent by accident, or kind of by accident. And then I kind of covered up for her. And so it introduces this sister, and it's just a phone call between me and her. But I mean, it's a wordy scene back and forth. And I get to set, and I pretty much, dude, he just goes right on me, right into, I mean, both of them were kind of not close-ups, but like, yeah, I don't think we had too many options. And he's like, all right, we're going to do it a walk and talk. Like you're going to be walking down the stairs. And I'm like, okay, obviously I was not told that before.
You're like, either I can walk or I can talk.
Yes.
And do that
Don't
shit
ask me to do
together.
both.
Nah.
Well, it's even tougher with filming, obviously, because mainly because of like the marks and making sure that you're in the frame and stuff, or like where to be.
That's a crazy hard thing, like the technical aspects of that, because for me, directing wise, I can work with the actor and we can get to the emotional place. And that's that one section of it. And then I leave that be. And I'm like, I hope the actors fucking get it. And then I can only focus on the technical side of when we're actually shooting, because it's on the actors at that point to get it emotionally. But as the actor, you have to do both the emotion and the technical shit. And having those two parts of your brain is like, that's fucking crazy, bro. Because you're trying to stay connected to the circumstance while also being like, my right side has to be shifted out here to cheat my face to camera at this moment.
100%. And for this particular one, and I've told you this before, like, I think with like, especially big production stuff or that requires a lot of physical stuff, get the technical stuff down first and be smart about that and check off all the boxes, say your lines, make sure that you finish your lines, all that stuff, and do the best of your abilities. But he'll have a little more room, and then you'll get some notes about probably like the circumstances of the scene, the actual psychology, and then you'll go back. So like on this one though, I mean, I fucking working with him a few times and knowing you have to use your director brain as the actor and say, okay, what's going to work here? And you nailed it. The girl, by the way, was feeding me lines as I'm walking down these like marble stairs, and I can barely hear what she's saying because my stomping as I'm walking, and I'm supposed to be pretending like I'm on the phone, but then I'm like, so I'm making sure I don't look to her also. And, like it's in it. And then he had me just
hold up. She's feeding you like your lines, or it's the stuff coming out of the phone?
Or she's doing the scene with me.
Got it.
But yeah, she's feeding me lines.
It's supposed to be on the phone.
Yeah. So I'm faking like I'm talking into here, but really I'm talking over there. And walking, and then by the way, and like we're doing rehearsal. We do a rehearsal right before we shoot. And I'm not sure if he's like shooting the rehearsal, the whole thing. And we just like, he figures it out as he does it, because he shoots 45 pages in a day. And he's like, but it's actually very cool to see in that sense too. The guy's a master at shooting quick. And I've told you about him before. He's the opposite of you.
What are you're saying? I do a lot of takes or what?
You do a lot of takes, which is an actor's dream. But it's
you know what, bro? I do a lot of takes. However, in this 31 days of Halloween where we had to shoot like fucking 10 in a day, I had to learn to like, once we're 85% there, gotta move on.
Yeah, that's
and
how
that's all that comes down to too, because that guy, if I'm sure at this stage, if he's doing 45 pages a day, which is fucking insane. I don't think I've ever done 45 pages. No, of course I haven't done 45 pages in a day. That's fucking crazy.
He might have been exaggerating when he said that.
Okay,
guys doing 45 pages a day,
bro. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, from his end, like he must get to like 85% of the way there and then be like, let's move on, because it doesn't matter. Like when you get a new crop of actors or a new circumstance, new script, it's like having all those elements in perfect play. It's not going to get to 100 unless you do like the 10 takes.
Well, look, he's capturing 3 movies on this. It's a 3-movie thing. He's not capturing a 5-minute vignette that like
Yeah.
So that being said, I mean, this long movie, he made it so that he got out all of the like small scenes out of the way that took place between like on a phone. Actually, it was all like phone call scenes we did at this one location. And he got very creative about like one person being over here to make a phone call, one person being over there to make a phone. The point is he's a master of using what he has and getting it done quick. And so anyway, I do want to finish this. I do the scene the first time. I think the only note I got was he's like, even be like more nervous, be more like freaking out that someone died and you're telling your sister this. And then I fucking did it a second time and flawless, bro. Like I'm making sure to like look everywhere. It's just, I worked it. It felt good.
Fucking killed it. I get it.
Smash out of the park. We know how it feels. And then, by the way, I do her scene or like the same person. I feed her lines and she's in the library and she hadn't worked with him before. And I could tell she's talented and good and great. But the director ends up giving her a bunch of notes and stuff. I'm like, oh, you be more mature or something, like look over here and all this. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if I was her, I might get a little, because this director does get a little, he has his freakouts, which are hilarious. It happens the best of them.
Also what I've learned a couple things. One, if like with how even if you're freaked out, I've learned to like stifle that shit. And the way you communicate with the actor, they're not going to be able to even take in anything if you're like freaking out. And the other part of that is like, you can only give an actor a certain set of notes. If you're giving them like a mature, like I also wasn't there, so I don't fully know the situation. But like, if you give them like mature and like 5 other notes, they can't retain all that shit and then put it together in this one thing. Maybe she did, but it's pretty difficult unless you on a couple of things.
I hope she was feeling all right after that. It's always a little shocking at first. I've gotten like that director's freaked out at me too. But you shoot a lot, you cover a lot of stuff and you move fast, and so like he's gonna have little bouts, but yeah, he's great otherwise. But yeah, man, so that was that. And it's good to be on set again. Every time I just figure out how to make this vision come to life in the best possible way.
Yeah, bro,
hasn't let me down yet.
It's good shit.
And I did ADR for that fraternity movie that I shot where I was the fraternity president.
Hell yeah.
I hate all this delays though. I asked the director, like, what are you going to do? He's like, oh, we're getting ready to send it to film festivals. And I'm like, all right, that means I'll never fucking see it. These film festivals, dude, they're not even real. Bunch of
I mean, I've found like nowadays film festivals aren't what they were in like 2000,
Yeah, maybe it's like,
but also like I've never sold a film before, so I don't fucking know. But
I'm sure the festival circuit's changed. Anyway, what?
I've been doing 31 Days of Halloween.
Yes, dude.
I'm like 3 films ahead, as in like that's my gap. So every day I have to edit at least 1 to keep pace. But we have, I think, 5 or 6 left to shoot. But we're almost there, bro. We've shot almost everything.
Congratulations.
It's been cool. Yeah, it's good, dude. View count hasn't been what we expected, unfortunately. But going into this, you think about all the pros that we're getting from this experience. And the biggest thing for me is sharpening that skill set always. It's like the same as any skill, bro. The more hours you put into something, the 10,000 hour rule, you just become a pro. So it's like, we're working that. And at the same time, it's like, we're really going to learn a lot about YouTube this way too, bro. Cause it's like what days hit the most, what kind of thumbnail. We're updating our thumbnails to be like, more visually appealing and all that shit. So it's cool.
And to just clarify to everyone too, the 31 Days of Halloween is Burnt Mill Road. You're releasing a film every day, short film on YouTube.
Yep. During the month of October.
Yeah. As like a trial to see what effect that has on it and everything.
Yeah. We're
Um,
also on day what, like 5? It's like I don't
yeah,
fucking know. You know, shit could turn around. We'll see.
well, 100%. And at the very least, it's an experiment. Like you put your heart into it, and you'll see what your other videos do great. And it's just a matter of, yeah.
Dude,
So
anything that you see through completion is dope. Any project that you think is fucking insane
yes.
and you actually stick with it through completion, getting on the other side of that, you're so much more prepared to attack the next project, which we'll be moving into features finally like 2023. That's
Okay.
the plan.
It's official. There we go.
Yeah.
Damn, dude. I gotta watch some of the movies.
Yeah, dude. Bro, I mean, we only need to color yours and then we'll be putting that out too. Hopefully that's going to be October.
I can't wait. You have to
Yeah.
color it? Oh,
Yeah.
it's already fine, probably, but you just gotta make sure that it looks even top.
It's like Ken usually throws on some color LUTs and shit to make it look better. It makes it pop more. But yeah, dude, the sound is fucking incredible. The cut's incredible. I'm super happy with it. Performance is great. It's going to be a good short.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Thank you.
Of course. I started jujitsu.
Of course you did.
Yeah. Dude, it's really nice having another hobby outside of filmmaking.
I bet it is. I know the feeling.
Getting back to that well-rounded, I'm sure you do. The
Yeah.
whole well-rounded thing of having something outside of the entertainment industry. I mean, people told me, including you, that you need that. But now that I have it, I'm like, this is fucking great.
Well,
'Cause
you were getting big into working out in general too. A
that
bit.
too. Yeah.
But jujitsu, are you feeling the calling already that it's going to be like a lifelong pursuit?
Bro, I want that black belt.
Wow.
It's coming. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it
It's like,
expensive?
what's that?
Is it expensive?
No. I mean, in comparison with like something else that you'd pick up, it's really not. I think it depends on the gym too, but I've got this great school. It's part of like the Gracie family. They're the ones who popularized Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So it's just like, yeah, the training's really good. It's pretty cheap for what it is. It's cool. It's like a 10-year pursuit also. Like they don't just hand out these belts. If you like to get to the black belt, it's like 10 years. So it's a good slow grind that you see small progress. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
And what's the training like generally? Like, do you go twice a week? What do you do?
I want to go as many. I mean, I'll likely lock into like 4 or 5 days per week.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you'll end up sparring with Mark Zuckerberg. He's doing it now.
Oh, for real?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure because of his appearance with Joe Rogan, right?
Yes,
got him into it.
I listened to that interview, and it was a little bit of a puff piece, I thought.
Yeah.
He was so light, but
dude, I stayed away from jujitsu for a while because I heard it is the martial art for like smaller guys like that to like get the upper hand. But there's a ceiling to that. Like if you're like a bigger guy like me, and then you take on something like that, if you get to that level also, you just have a higher ceiling of where you can go. So it's
I like what I'm hearing. I like what I'm hearing. You watching anything good at the moment?
You go first.
Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. I'm still on them. I like them. They're fun.
Cool.
Or sort of boring, but fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think
Blackbird as well. Blackbird. Did you watch Blackbird?
No, what's that?
It's a show about a drug dealer that like solves a murder. Anyway,
I'll check it out.
we're about to end.
On my end, bro. I'm still watching The Patient.
People keep talking about it.
Yeah, it's not bad. Steve Carell knocks it out of the park.
All right, I gotta watch it probably. All right.
All right, brother. I'll see you next week.
Man. Great talking.
You
too.
You
See
too,
brother.
man. Peace.